good, everybody? It's your boy Eli back with another reaction. And I'll be reacting to 4 bone-chilling true Halloween. I want to say Hazelwood for some reason. Halloween stories. I think this is from Mr. Nightmare. I've had this on my computer for at least a day. I think it came out last night. I I saw it come up and I recommended. He had loaded, it was like 16 minutes. He had uploaded, and I was going to react to it right then. But then I didn't. And for some reason, I wanted to wait till it was nighttime. Maybe because of the spookiness, even though I have all these lights on, because I don't want to be like, we only see my face. Like it's illuminating from my laptop. That might not look too hot. Everybody do though when they watch something spooky. Maybe I watch. I hate Candyman. Like, I don't hate the movie. It's a good movie, but I am a grown ass man, and I still can't watch that movie. Like, it is one of the most terrifying. Probably one reason because my brother made me say it was 5 times in the mirror when I was a kid, and I was terrified for like I think a couple months. Like, I didn't want to use the bathroom, but I had to. Gotta use the bathroom. I used to take showers with the shower curtain open because I was just like that way I could see them come so I could try to run out or something. Oh, the terrified me. Oh my god. Anyway, and I watched what was it? I think it's a channel called Dead Meat. They did he does like death counts. Like how many people died in the movie, and he did that. And even watching that, wasn't even watching the movie. It was just little clips, and then him saying who died and all this stuff, and doing analysis. And I was still like, it was hard to watch. Tony Todd, and I know they're supposed to be remaking it. I heard that they was gonna do it with the guy who played Black Manta in Aquaman, but then I read something recently about, there's a rumor though, but that Tony Todd might come back as Candyman. But then I was like, well, what about that? Did he drop out or something? I haven't heard anything about that. So, and plus an article said it was just a rumor. So they gotta have Tony Todd in it. He don't have to be Candyman, but he gotta be in it. Come on. Anyway, let's get into bone-chilling true Hollywood, true Halloween stories. Alright, here we That's another, that song used to terrify me. I hate even the commercials about
My group of friends and I went to a local county haunted house attraction. It was by the edge of town. It opened every October of every year. It sat right by the woods appropriately and had 3 attractions: a main haunted house, a corn maze, and a haunted trail through the woods. I guess I'll name my friends now. Rod, James, and Bud. That's not his real name, that's just his nickname.
I hope not.
We started with the haunted house, which was decently high quality and had a few good scares. Then we made our way to the corn maze. It started out kind of slow, just a lot of turns through the corn we'd have to make. But then the scary antics began. A guy dressed as a freaky scarecrow emerged from the corn and screamed at us, causing us to scream as well. He started to chase after us and we ran. I was in the back, of course, and the scarecrow was right behind me. Even knowing it's just a paid actor, you have this innate fear of something chasing after you where you just feel like you have to run away. Somehow, through the thrill of running away through the corn, I lost all of my friends. It seemed like all of us ran in different directions. I lost the scarecrow man though, and got back to the trail between the crops. This is where the nightmare began. I called and yelled and screamed for my friends as I made wrong turn after wrong turn. They never called back. In fact, it seemed there were no other visitors in sight. I had to finish the maze by myself. What choice did I have? I walked and walked for what felt like 20 minutes, and I heard bustling in the corn in front of me.
Yeah, what would that be that?
I slowed my pace and kind of tiptoed past the noise, but it was pointless. Something reached out from the corn and grabbed my wrist and squeezed it tight. I actually cried out in pain and yelled, "Stop, you're hurting me." I was actually in shock how hard this paid actor was squeezing my wrist.
Man,
Then he
my
tried
fist
pulling
come
me into the crops.
through the corner.
I didn't see who it was. I just saw his hand and arm, covered by a black coat sleeve and black glove. I yanked myself out from the grip and backed away as the actor came out from the crops into the path. He was wearing a heavy winter coat, black jeans, and a blank black face mask. I didn't know what the costume was supposed to be, but I literally yelled, "Go fuck yourself, you actually hurt me."
Just envision that.
He started running at me, and naturally I turned and ran as fast as I could through the corn to lose him. I yelled back, "I'm reporting you," and I quickly lost him. After 5 minutes of running straight through the corn as opposed to following the maze of trails, I came to the edge of the maze and went to find an employee. I reported the actor to the employee, saying he used way too much force to the point that my wrist actually hurt. The employee said he wasn't sure who was wearing the specific costume I described, but that he'd look into it. I thanked him, and then I looked at my phone. I had a missed call from James. I called him back to ask where the three of them were. He said they tried finding me, then they gave up and went to the haunted trail in the woods. I said I'd meet them and hung up. I walked over to the start of the trail, where they had the Halloween ambiance blasting through a bunch of speakers placed throughout. I stepped into the woods, feeling like I was the only one around besides my friends. I tried playing catch up to my friends, when I stopped in my tracks after spotting him again, blocking the path. It was the guy in the coat and black mask.
Following you.
He didn't even give me time to react or say something. Right away, he started legit charging full speed at me. I turned right and ran into the woods, expecting to lose him easier.
This way you do a jump spin.
This time I called back, "I'm calling the police." I wasn't actually, but I thought that might get this guy to just leave me alone. I ran deeper into the woods until I didn't hear him chasing me anymore. Then I sat down on the root of a tree to catch my breath.
You in the woods, though. At night.
One of my thoughts was, did that guy really follow me from the corn maze to here? Then I heard footsteps approaching. And of course, at that exact moment, my iPhone started ringing. I silenced my phone, but now the footsteps had stopped. I pushed myself up off the root quietly and leaned to the side to get a view past the tree. It looked clear. I started to run back towards the path of the attraction and immediately spotted him to my right. I said to myself, fuck it. I stopped and told him I'm suing the place because of him. But he didn't stop running at me. He got to me and pushed me to the floor.
Why would you?
I didn't expect it.
Yeah, what
I
would
was
you?
once again in shock.
There's no way I would let this
I
person
got
get
back up
close
as
to me.
fast as I could before he could get on top of me and booked it. He chased me, but when I got back to the path towards the entrance of the attraction, he stopped and turned around. I went straight to the little front office shack and asked for a manager. Some older guy greeted me, and I told him about the guy who was chasing me and attacking me. The man said they didn't have any actors wearing that specific attire, so he called the police, and eventually I got my friends to meet me where I was. I stayed and described the happening to the police when they showed up.
The happened.
I didn't have any marks to show them, but they still took a report and the place was closed for the night. We all went home after that. I haven't been to any
Or
haunted
they actually
attractions ever
closed?
since.
I had some shit happen at haunted house I was at. Not to me, but police came. They didn't close. Talked to the people. They was looking for somebody, and then they
The
police
year I
left.
turned 13, my friend invited me and 2 other friends to stay at his house on Halloween night. He had a fairly large house outside of our town, and it was the perfect place to go trick-or-treating.
That's the house. That's a
We
big
decided it
fucking
would be
house.
cool to go now to get sweets for a movie. So fast forward. We were near the end of our trick-or-treating, and at one house, a woman answered the door. She was tall and skinny with shoulder-length hair. Her house was disgusting. We could smell the odor of cigarettes from inside. She was quick to tell us that there were no more sweets left. However, she could go try to find something for us.
Yeah, but don't worry about it.
After a couple minutes of waiting, she
Couple
comes back
minutes.
with an old brown paper bag with old-looking candy inside. We kindly deny the bag and tell her we're getting picked up, so we better go. She grabs one of my friends and says, "No, please." But my friend pulls away from her, and then she quickly shuts the door.
Fuck off me, bitch.
We knocked on a few more houses before hearing something going on near the parking lot of the housing complex. Someone exclaimed, "They took my child, they took her, they took her." It was her, that woman. And that was my friend's parents' car that she was banging on. She was throwing herself at the car and hitting it with her fists. A couple of neighbors came out due to the commotion. They seemed to know who she was. They
was like, oh,
apologized
that's
to us and
crazy
said it was a big
Betsy.
misunderstanding. We quickly got into the car, and my friend's mom started driving us out. But we don't get far before the woman jumps in front of the car, claiming one of us was her child. The neighbors once again pulled her away. It was later that night,
Some of the neighbors
things
just
truly
like,
began.
Betsy, get your ass on.
We stayed up late like any teenager.
No, you ain't got no
with
damn
sleepovers,
kids.
And we watched some scary movies. Out of nowhere, the light turned on in the hall. We could see it under the closed door of the bedroom.
Oh
I
my.
assumed it was my friend's parents who were about to come in to tell us to get
How
some sleep.
are they in the
However,
house?
no one came in.
Is she in the house?
I decided to have a peep out the door. Nothing at all.
Don't tell me this one
My
people
friends
they
joined
don't
me
lock
to see
their
why the
damn
lights
doors.
suddenly turned on. Out of nowhere, my friend says, "It's her." And through a large window facing the backyard, we see that woman standing there, looking in. However,
Oh,
the
okay, I
second
thought
she
she
saw
was
us stare at her, she ran away. Disturbed by
She
this, we came
followed
back
you.
inside the bedroom and locked the door. We were obviously quite shaken up by this. Who is she? What does she want?
She crazy.
We sat around for an hour, nervous.
Crazy
and
people
high
don't need a
alert.
reason.
However, we eventually did somehow manage to fall asleep. That morning, my friend's mom told us the situation at the housing complex shook her up so much that she thought she had seen that woman standing over her bed in the middle of the night. My friends and I never even told her we saw that woman at the house that night, which
Why
led us
not?
to wonder, what if, just maybe what if, that woman actually was inside the house that night?
But they said the light turned on in the hallway.
Last year, Halloween was on a Wednesday, and because of that, I was home alone. My dad works nights, and my mom was staying with her sister because our parents weren't getting along at the time. My sister was away at college, so it was just me, left to provide for the trick-or-treaters. My dad bought a couple bags of Kit Kats and told me he expected them empty by the end of the night. I don't know why, but my dad
What?
takes Halloween seriously.
What if people
I
don't
didn't
come
get
to your
home from
house?
classes until around 6, so it was already dark and the kids were out in droves.
I bought some candy last year. Ain't
The
nobody knock
second
on
I
my
dropped my
fucking
bag
door.
on the couch, the bell rang, and that went on for some hours. I was getting homework done later on in the night when the trick-or-treaters had mostly gone home. It was sometime past 9 though, I remember that much, and the doorbell rang once more. It was the first time in over half an hour. I went to open the door with a near-empty bowl of Kit Kats, expecting some kids, but instead it was just this lone guy, maybe 35 years old. He waved at me with a neutral expression on his face. I didn't open the storm door. I kind of just watched him, ready to shut the door on him. He stopped waving, then reached for the handle to the storm door and pulled it open.
Yeah, why?
At that moment, I slammed the door shut in his face and
Why
locked
was
it.
the storm door?
I texted my family group
unlocked?
chat that some old guy just tried opening the door. My dad joked that if he does it again, go outside and teach him a lesson. I decided that was it with
Your
opening the door
dad's
for
an
the night.
asshole.
I went back up to my room to finish my homework. Soon, I heard yelling coming from outside. I lost my patience and eventually got up to see what was going on. I slid open my window and looked down, and there was that man again down below.
I thought he
looking
said
up
he
at my
lost his
window,
patience to
shouting
go
at me.
outside like
He
13.
was mainly yelling that he needed help finding his son. I didn't believe him for a second. I texted my family
His
again.
son.
My dad just said, "Ignore it, he'll go away." I
Oh
left
my
my
God,
room
you're
and
dead.
shut off the light so that he'd go away. Then I went to the basement, which had no windows. I hung out down there to do my work, and all was quiet for a while. Then, flick, the power went out. My initial thought, that man outside tinkered with the electric box outside of the house.
Why is the, I never
I
understood that
stayed in
electric
contact
box is
with my family the
outside.
whole time. After a few minutes, I heard the floorboards creaking above my head. Someone, as if I couldn't guess who, was inside the house. My mom, dad, and sister all texted me to call the cops. I stayed put in the basement as it was the safest place at this point. The cops were en route. All I had to do was wait. The basement door then opened, and we stepped down the stairs.
You couldn't
I'm
lock it
halfway
from
there.
the other side?
Even without power, A little bit of light from the upstairs poured into the basement, enough for me to see his legs. He was standing on the middle step of the staircase, and I swear he just stood there for like 2 minutes. I heard him mumbling stuff. I won't even pretend I could understand any of it.
And you're in the basement, you can't get
After
out.
the longest, most painfully uncomfortable moment of my life, the man said into the basement, "I can see you." The whole time, his legs were actually facing me. Was he actually looking at me that whole time? Still, I didn't move, nor did he.
Where would you at?
He continued to stand there until there was a bang at the front door. Then he walked up the stairs, shut the door, and I heard creaking above again. I waited 20 seconds before running upstairs to the front door. By that time, it seemed the man had left my house, because the cops couldn't find him, even with my help. Stupidly, I left the back door unlocked, so he simply let himself in.
Of course you
As for
fucking
the power,
did.
he messed with the electric box outside, as I predicted. I don't know if he did this on Halloween intentionally, or if it was just a coincidence, but something was wrong with that man. He didn't belong out in the streets.
No matter what day he does it, that's bullshit. Even when I was a kid, my parents let me. There was no window or door unlocked. I ain't forget none of that shit.
Halloween night. I don't know what year it was, but it was probably like 4 years ago, and it was a Saturday. I'll keep this short and to the point.
It's
My friend
Florida.
Tanner and I were set on doing something scary that night, and that ended up being a visit to the abandoned house way up the road from our campus. It was at the top of the hill, and some students referred to it as the Blair Witch House, simply because it sat all by itself on an enclosed property, and it had been abandoned for years.
That's a
So, come 10
stupid
o'clock,
name.
Tanner drove us all the way up the road
Blair
and
Witch,
parked
I
his
like
car
this.
in the dirt outside of the property.
Blair Witch's ear
We
too.
walked up the hill to the house, and even just seeing the unlit house standing in the dark gave me goosebumps. We both came with backpacks full of tools like flashlights,
That's kind of a
knives,
scary
just in
house.
case, and he even brought a crowbar. Surprisingly, he didn't need it though, because the front door was already cracked open.
Because
This
it's
is where the
crackheads in
flashlights
there.
came
That's
in,
why.
because of course the inside was as dark as it gets. The house seemed to be scrapped for just about everything, because nothing was left except junk. Nothing very exciting. Then there was a thump from upstairs. Tanner and I looked at each other, and we agreed
course
to
it
go
fucking
upstairs and
was.
check it out. He led the way up the stairs, which were extremely rickety. We got to the top, and there was a small hall with 3 doors. We passed the first room, which was a tiny bedroom with an old collapsed bed frame still in there. There was a second door on the left. This one led to an empty bathroom. There was one more door, this one on the right of the hall. We stepped inside. This bedroom was definitely the master bedroom. There was a bed frame sitting in the center of the room still. There was once carpet on this wood floor, which had apparently been ripped away over the years. We stepped fully inside the
And went
room,
where?
looking for what could have made the thumping sound. And then, bang. The door to the room slammed shut, and there was suddenly a white flash that filled the room. Then another. It seemed like camera flashes. Tanner screamed and opened the door back up to flee the room. I did the same.
No, I'm
Neither
about
of
to
us
say,
looked
you
for
didn't
whoever
do
was
the
in there
same.
with us. In the moment, we were way too scared. We ran back to the car. and
But
Tanner
in this
drove us
moment,
back
it's
to
okay
campus.
to be a fucking
A
cow.
week later, Tanner sent me a picture through text. He was holding a photograph in the picture. It was of the 2 of us in that bedroom of the house. He said they were left under his windshield wiper in the parking lot of our dorm building. I told him throw them away and park somewhere else from now on. We only told a few close friends about this, and we never went near that house again.
And people are always doing dumb shit. It's like I've said in other videos, I've been in like abandoned places, but it's usually broad daylight for one thing, and it was always in a place where it was right next to like on a busy street where there's like this one store was abandoned and was boarded up and stuff like that. So it wasn't like some out in the middle of nowhere, a rickety house that looks abandoned. Like I've never done. I've seen it when I lived down south, like houses like that. I had no, uh, I had no desire to go in that house, like none whatsoever. So like, and none of my friends that were there with me had a desire to go in. They like, yeah, we'll walk around the house, around the perimeter, but we ain't going in there. Especially if it's just like not boarded up, all the windows are broken because like kids they just throw rocks and try to break the windows and shit. Um, all the doors are like ripped off the hinges or they just wide open and stuff like that. And it's broad daylight. Maybe we'll step inside, but we ain't walking all inside, walking upstairs and stuff. I've been in abandoned stores where it was like evening time, but the sun was still out, but it was on the horizon. And I went in it was like an abandoned. I think it looked like it used to be a drugstore or something, but somebody had broken the door on the back. Because all those places they were always boarded up front, so you definitely. And plus, we didn't want people to see us go in there anyway, so we always go around the back. And it looked like somebody had, because it like whoever ripped the door open, the doorknob fell off. But we went in there and we walked in, and I saw stairs. I remember a friend of mine tried to he's gonna walk up the stairs, and I was standing at the bottom, and he's like, "You gonna come with me?" And I was like, "No, like you gonna go on them those stairs? Like, if something pop off, I want to be able to run out." Now we did kind of trap ourselves in here because, like I said, the front doors, especially in like cities, were always boarded up, so you can't get in from the front, but people always go around the back. So we kind of screwed ourselves because there's one entrance in this fucking place. But I definitely ain't going upstairs. And I remember nothing happened. We just walked around and came back down and walked out. I think he went back in there later on because I remember going back to my apartment and I could see the building from where I lived at through my bathroom window. I went and used the bathroom. I happened to get up, and when I was washing my hands, look out, and I saw my friend coming out of the building again. So he might have went upstairs. I didn't ask him. But, I was like, "You going there by yourself?" I'm like, "You brave boy." Like I don't know. See, like I said, I wasn't thinking about monsters or ghosts or any shit like that. I'm like, it's criminals, crackheads, or whatever. And if it's a crackhead, then they be paranoid and end up lashing out, thinking you trying to rob them or something, pull out a knife. And I'm like, because I've had arguments with people on drugs and stuff, and they immediately start accusing you of trying to steal stuff from them, or there's something they lost something, and they think, where was this at? Or sometimes they never had it, or they just think they had something, and they're like, where is that? Where is it? And I'm like, I just walk away. Like, I don't know you. I don't know what is it. I'm just walking. I'm just passing through. So like, I don't really deal with that shit. So that was always my word. Like people like, oh, there's a ghost in there, and I say, ghost in there. It's a crackhead. That's what's in there. It's like a crackhead or somebody storing something in there. I remember, I think it was on the news like just years ago, and I think it was almost at the west side of Chicago. Somebody was like storing like drugs in an abandoned building, and it was because some abandoned buildings they'll stay abandoned forever, like decades will go by, and the building will stay abandoned. But it's probably smart if you buy it, and if you want like a abandoned building, you doing illegal stuff, You buy that building, just let it stay abandoned. But you moving stuff in and out of it, at night or whatever. And there was some crates in there or something. Apparently, police saw some activity, and they went in there and found it was like crates of drugs or something like that. But I was like, never, like I did that shit when I was young. I remember when another like I saw earlier with that what was it, haunted house thing. I was in Mississippi and went to a haunted house, and they did the same thing. Like you went to a house, then you went to like through the woods, and then it was like kind of like a maze that they had a bunch of fucking garbage bags blocking, so you couldn't see. And I remember going through the woods, and we had to stop, pretty much about I don't know 10 feet into the woods, and we had to stop and sit there with this guy because some people were moving in front of us, and I was looking, and it was a full moon, and the only light we could see was like they had like lights on the trail, and they had it roped off like tied to trees to make a trail so you stay on that, but it was like a full moon, and I was like I thought I could see something moving in the woods. I know I heard leaves being crushed, and I was like, is that something? And my friends like, man, you tripping? Like you trying to scare us? And I was like, all right. And then I was like, no, I saw something move. So then the guy let us walk, like, go on ahead, because they radio said the next group can go. And we were in the next group, so we walked ahead. And I saw, and I'm the one in the back. And I heard like something will maybe turn around, but I did hear like crunching, but I didn't know if that was us, like because it was woods and dead leaves and stuff. So I didn't know if that was us or something else, but something told me to look behind me. This dude and a guy dressed up as Michael Myers walked up. Like he was like, cause he was doing that slow, walk Michael Myers to keep his back straight. And as soon as I looked back, he had like a knife. I couldn't at the time. I didn't know it was fake. Of course it was fake, but I mean, I don't know. I was like, this dude could be fucking crazy. We in the woods, and you could easily walk into, because it wasn't fenced in. Somebody could just easily walk into those woods, onto this path, and you could see the lights, and then fuck with people. When I saw that, I darted past my friend, and I ran right off that fucking trail. As soon as we got to the other part where it was like the garbage bags, one of my friends, he was like exhausted. He was like breathing all hard, and then and all of a sudden we heard like a chainsaw rip, and this dude runs through the garbage bags. He's dressed like a Leatherface. And we took off again, ran. I know we ran through one of the, because they had the garbage bag kind of tight, so you couldn't. They would make like a wall. I ripped right through one. Because I guess it was like two, and they had taped it. So when I ran through this bro, right there, we jumped over some like fake tombstones they had up there, and my other friend who was tired the first day, he was like, he about to have a damn heart attack, because he was like breathing all hard, and me and my other friend, we just standing there like, dude, you all right? He was all like hunched over, like breathing. Oh, that place was fun though. And then we went to the main house, because on somebody's property, around their house, and they were cool people. It was some I never met them before, because this was almost an hour and a half from where we lived, and into the woods. And I remember I saw his daughter, because she was like, y'all, she said, y'all want something to drink? And she got us some Kool-Aid. We were like, the fuck? It was like some Kool-Aid. But she was fine, like a white chick, like she was built, like yeah, they make them like this out here, cornbread fit. And I remember her, like I don't know, if it was her dad or her granddad. He looked like could have been her granddad. He was like So we were talking to her, and it's three of us talking to her. We walked outside, and we were just talking. He was kind of like looking at us like why y'all like talking about talking about like daughter or granddaughter? And she was out. We was out there laughing and stuff. I like know what he thinking. I know. Oh, that shit was funny though. And I think my friend, I think he, the one who was like, who got exhausted really fast. I think he twisted his ankle or something. I think that he was like limping. I want to say he said he twisted his ankle or something because I remember he jumped over the tombstone, but his foot got caught and he fell because we saw how we was like laughing. I think that might have been when he twisted his ankle. But yeah, good times. Good times. I ain't been in a haunted house in forever. Oh, but anyway, this is going on for 30 minutes. I hope y'all enjoyed my reaction to one and my story time with Eli. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you did not, hit that thumbs up button. Anyway, I'm going to throw punch you. And make sure to subscribe, share, and comment. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.